Hi, I'm Anthony Originello, CEO of the Chartered Professionals in Human Resources for BC and Yukon. We represent more than 8,000 members, and as the organization dedicated to advancing the HR profession through education, advocacy, awareness, professional development, as well as our recognized and impactful CPHR designation, we are proud to be a sponsor of this show. We have been the voice of the HR profession since 1942. Learn more about us at cphrbc.ca.
In this edition of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Michael Goehring of the Mining Association of British Columbia. Michael, welcome.
Stuart, good afternoon.
What exactly is your job there at the Mining Association?
That's a great question, Stuart.
Yeah. What's your title? Let's start with what your title is.
I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Mining Association of British Columbia.
So what does that mean that you do on a daily basis?
Well, what it means is I lead what's referred to as a trade association or organization that represents the mining and smelting industry in British Columbia. So there are 17 operating mines and 2 smelters in BC. And at some point in time, many, many years ago, they all came together and said, it would be wise if we had a representative that represented us with respect to government and the public. So on issues of common cause, we could come together with one voice. So the Mining Association was actually came into being in 1901 through an act of the BC legislature, believe it or not. It was one of the earlier acts, and we, our bylaws were formed through that legislation, and we are the voice of BC mining.
So that means that you advocate on behalf of. Now you're advocating to governments.
We are advocating to government, and the reason why we advocate to government is because mining is a heavily regulated industry. There are, pages and pages of laws and regulations that operating mines and mine developments must adhere to, and it makes sense to have someone who can speak on behalf of all of those mines with government to talk about, should we do this or do that or change this or change that? Can we do something better? And this is the normal back and forth that happens between business, industry, or even, healthcare, social services is always in dialogue with government. And that's really, what in a pluralist society, how we do things and should do things. To better inform government and get better informed government policy.
You also have another outward face, though, to the public. Is that
part
of your role?
It is part of our role. Part of what I and my team do is we undertake communications to the public to inform the public about BC's mining industry. Many people, mining is something that happens out there, in northern BC, not down here where we are right now in greater Vancouver. So our communications are about kind of public education, about reminding British Columbians about the benefits of mining and why mining is important and why people should care about mining.
You also talked about your team. So is part of your role, you're the face when you're advocating to the public and to government, but you also have to manage a team. Tell me about your team.
That's correct. We have a great team at the Mining Association of BC, and we couldn't do what we do without that team. So our team is really consists of what I would say subject matter experts in provincial policy, in federal and provincial public policy, policy development, policy analysis, so we have that subject matter expertise for the benefit of our membership. And then we also have communications expertise. And we kind of bring those together under our roof. We also work very closely with BC's mining suppliers. And this is something that's not unique to British Columbia. This happens in Ontario and Quebec as well, where they have a significant mining industry. But mining suppliers are a very important part of the mining industry. In BC, there's nearly 4,000 companies who provide goods and services to BC's operating mines and smelters. So we work closely with the mine suppliers and the president and CEO of the Mining Suppliers Association of BC. It's nice to have that under our roof so we can stay in close contact and work together for the benefit of our members.
So this is a complex job you have. As a result, it's not a 9-to-5 job, is it?
No. And I don't know if 9-to-5 jobs actually
exist anymore.
You know, that's a question I'm sure you might find out as you go through your interviews. It is, generally speaking, it's a Monday to Friday role. But with the advent of modern technology and computers and cells, I think many people are tasked, when they get home and maybe do an hour or two of work after dinner, perhaps. I mean, I did that a lot more when I was younger.
Yeah.
I'll do it every once in a while. The important thing is, like a job that I have some flexibility. The important thing is the job needs to get done, right?
Yeah.
I think the stereotypes of jobs and what they are I think have changed. They're not perhaps valid anymore.
Right. So where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school at Point Grey Secondary here in Vancouver.
And when you graduated, did you say, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to run the Mining Association of British Columbia?
I certainly did not.
So what were your aspirations when you were leaving secondary school?
My education and career pathway might be a bit unconventional. When I graduated from high school, I wasn't certain what my career path was going to be. So I set out and went to work in the hospitality industry, and I traveled. I did a lot of travel. I traveled around the world. And I became interested in politics and international affairs. I was in Turkey in 1987. And at that time, Turkey's government had just legalized the Turkish Communist Party. Turkey was kind of coming out of a period of autocracy at that time. And so I was in the Anatolia, in the central part of Turkey, and happened to witness this march of the Turkish Communist Party and the Workers' Party that happened, and the Kurds, and I just found it fascinating. And I began to read up on Turkey when I got back here to Vancouver, and I decided that studying international affairs was for me. And that's what I did. I went to, I did 2 years at UVic, I did 2 years at UBC, and then I did studied towards a master's degree in international political economy at Simon Fraser.
And that led you to where?
That led me to actually working in the BC legislature for several years.
As an aide to?
I was a research and communications officer for, at that time, for Gordon Campbell and the BC Liberals, who were the opposition party.
When they assumed government, did you stay with them?
I did not.
Oh, where'd you go?
I did not. I made the decision to come back to Vancouver. I had met my at that point, it was my soon-to-be wife. So it was either, stay on Vancouver Island. It was either get married or stay on Vancouver Island. So I decided to get married and come to
Good decision.
Come to Vancouver.
Yeah,
It was no regrets there.
Yeah.
So I went into I took my experience and went into communications and ended worked for 2 decades with a public affairs firm.
So communications and government relations.
Communications and government relations. That's correct.
And that ultimately led you to the position that you're in now.
Yeah.
Definitely not a straight line.
No, not a straight line. But I think, to those who are embarking on, finishing school and trying to kind of, scratch their head and say, what is it I really want to do? Because it's not something that comes naturally to everybody.
Right.
I have 2 17-year-old boys right now who are twin boys who are going through a process to determine what it is they would like to do with their lives. And so I can relate. But, you have to really be curious. Be curious, read a lot, follow your nose, trust your instincts, talk to a lot of people. I don't think you can think your way into a career. I think you have to act your way into a career.
What do you mean by act your way into a career?
Well, nothing really happens in this world without action.
Yeah.
Right? Some people sit back and ponder and think, well, if I did this or if I did that. Other people do it. And they're not afraid to make mistakes. They're open to taking some risks, right? I mean, I know many, many people who've gone to school and halfway through an arts degree decide, I don't want to do this, I actually want to take engineering. I had a good friend who always regretted not going into sciences in university, and he did a year of arts, and he did an about-face and went into sciences.
Yeah.
And now he has a great career in the sciences. So, I think it's about doing, about being active, putting yourself out there, and meeting people. You know, like what does an engineer do, and what do they look like? What do they do on a daily basis? Well, if you actually can see, if you could meet and talk to an engineer, you have much more data upon which to make a decision. Either A, I want to be an engineer, or it's not for me.
Well, you've given us the opportunity to meet President and CEO of a mining association. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.